together tonight, we are here. I'd like to please their person speak. Before I say another word, the first thing I'm going to do is ask if there are any veterans or active duty members of our military in the room. Are there any veterans? Would you please stand? Would you please stand? Thank you for your service. Thank you for our freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all patriots. Now I'm going to ask our veterans to please stand again, if you would. Stand again. And then everyone else, would you please join them as we recite our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Your. My name is not Matt Hyman. My name is Gina Reed. I'm the proud chair of the Kansas Democratic Party. And tonight you are at a town hall that we are hosting. We are co-hosting with our Lyons County Democratic Party and our second Congressional District Democratic Party. I want to first of all thank the Lyons County History Center for a beautiful facility they've shared with us graciously this evening. And then some of our hosts, obviously, our Lyons County Democrats, Dr. Emily Walters, the chair of our second Congressional District, and some of the people who made this happen tonight, some of the support for this was covered in part by Daphne Merton. Daphne Merton, that's Daphne in the room. Thank you, Daphne, for your support. So I'm going to introduce our panel and then our moderator. Before I do that, I'm just going to say a few words to get out of the way. Again, my name is Gina Reed. I'm the proud chair of the Kansas Democratic Party, but I'm not standing here tonight just as the chair of the party. I'm standing here tonight as an American and as a Kansan, because that is what we all are. We did personally invite all of our federal representatives. Representative Derek Schmidt, Senator Roger Marshall, and Senator Jared Moran. And they were handed invitations to come, and we followed up with emails and phone calls. They're choosing not to be here. And what I'm going to say to you about that is this. I understand that they have an R in front of or behind their name, but once they are elected, they become your representative. It does not matter what affiliation they ran under. They are here to represent Kansas. And Kansas is a beautiful state that deserves to have our voices heard in Washington, D.C. And you don't think your voice has been heard in Washington, D.C. And I'll end with this. We are a representative republic. That means that we are the people. This is not someone else's country. This is not someone else's government. It is ours. We, the people, we get to send our neighbor to go represent us and make the laws that impact us. We get to send our representative who lives down the street or sits next to the church, regardless of whether they're Republican or Democrat. And what is happening right now in our country is that people are representing their own interests and not those of their fellow Americans. And so I invite you tonight to speak out. Even though the Republican representatives aren't here, we're so proud of the people who are. We want you to be heard. We want this to be a space to be heard. And a reminder again, we are live streaming, so if you do have a question in the room, we can hear you to speak up. If you don't have a mic, it may not come through the live stream. So if you'll raise your hand, we'll bring you a mic. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to someone I call a dear friend. He ran for the second Congressional District in the Democratic primary, so I hope we'll run again. Also, a national champion with taking basketball. Please help me welcome your moderator tonight, Matt Hyman.
not expect to be here. I don't think either of you did either. This is not something we typically do in an off-election year. But tonight we all showed up. We showed up because we care about our community. We care about our state. We care about our country. I am sorry that our elected representatives at the federal level did not show up for you tonight. We sent them letters. I personally called each of their offices and left messages. They're not here, but we are excited about who is here. We have a wonderful panel tonight, but we also need to listen. That's one thing that I learned on the campaign trail last year. I had the good fortune to run and try to represent you. I ran because where I live in Wyandotte County, we're struggling. Housing prices are getting more expensive. Food prices are getting more expensive. Jobs are not paying enough to survive. Our seniors on fixed income are worried about getting priced out of their homes. We are struggling as a state and as a nation. And the people who have been elected to lead us are not leading us. I don't. They're making things worse. So tonight is a conversation. It's not what we typically do, which is tell family and friends how frustrated we are, maybe check it out on social media. It's also a chance for us to make connections. So when you hear somebody tonight talk about something that matters, or when we hear one of our panelists talk about something, I want you to take that with you and share it in your community. I will tell you from my experience as somebody who ran for office, 3 quick observations. Number one, I remember being on a bipartisan panel in Batesville, Kansas. And I got up there and I said, look around, this is a school. We're not the Department of Education. What are we doing? And it's all in Project 2025. And I got off the stage, and one of the Republican congressman candidates, his staff comes up to me and goes, man, you did such a wonderful job. But don't talk about Project 2025. It's not real. Donald Trump's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with Project 2025. That's a lie. That's a lie. We're being lied to. That's it. The second observation was I was in Iowa. We had a bipartisan panel. And I'm here listening to them talk about the reason why the cost of food is so high is because of immigrants. And the reason why inflation is so high is because of immigrants. And finally, I said, we tell the truth. We talk about the fact that they're going to decimate our government to give tax cuts to the rich. They've done it once, they're going to do it again. And I got down on the stage, and an older gentleman came up to me and goes, young man, are you a Democrat? And I said, yes, sir, I am. And I said, well, shoot, I got to change my registration and vote for you. That story, because our policies are popular. We care about working families. We care about our neighbors. We love our neighbors. That's what we have going for us. But the third observation I have in the campaign trail is what's working against us. I got through a DORA militia parade. I didn't know the militia parade when I got up there. And as I was there, a young man, he's probably about half or twice my age, walks up to me, tries to look down on me, but I'm got a head and shoulders above him. And he goes, are you running as a Democrat? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, yes, I did. He didn't want to listen. He didn't want to listen. Our brand as Democrats is in trouble. And I say, my head's not. You know what I mean. We are in trouble. But what I can tell you is, we're also doing the work. So while we don't have Senator Moran, Senator Marshall, Congressman Derek Schmidt here tonight, because they're not, we do have our House Minority Leader in Brandon Woodard. We do have our Senate Minority Leader in Diana Sykes. Labor Leader. We have a Labor Union representative, Derek Lowe. Jake Lowe, sorry, Jake Lowe. I got Jake Lowe with the Wichita Hutchinson Labor Federation. Thank you, Jake. CDT Chairwoman Emily Walters. And Chairman Stephen Bass. So, before I get us going, I will round rule and conversation. I want to turn it over real quick to Senator Sykes and Representative Woodard. Senator Sykes, I represent the 21st district and serves as a minority leader in Kansas City. She's a former PTA president, and tonight I work a personal chef. And is a faithful on ran first for office to bring common sense and compassion back to health. Was elected as a Republican in 2018, switched to the Democratic Party shortly after seeing firsthand how extreme partisanship was targeting our Kansas working families. Senator Sykes has been a steady advocate for public education, Medicaid expansion, and bipartisan problem solving, and she helped repeal the Brown Act tax plan and restore school funding, and led the passage of SB 78, a landmark child protection bill for survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. Today, she is one of the most respected voices in the State House for a practical, people-first leadership. Senator Sykes, thank you for being here. Here's a few minutes to just give yourself an introduction.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. I just want to start and say, on April 13th, I hosted my 116th town hall. When people, I've been up there when people did not like my votes, but I showed up and had a conversation. So thank you all for being here and being a part of the process. I think I'm supposed to talk about our legislative session, and it was a shit show. You see everything. I think the spotlight has been on national politics and what's going on. So we had our own Kansas version of that. In the Senate, we have our coach committee instead of those, and all the bad ideas, they're Kansas fighting them, and that's something with the new supermajority, where they don't have to have compromise or actually represent the people and the policies that we know would benefit working Kansas. So they pushed through a new budget process, trying to eliminate the governor's voice in that. I'm the first one to say, yes, we need to dig deeper into things, but not at hurting our working Kansans, hurting our most vulnerable, taking away those wraparound support services, which is exactly what they're doing. They're trying to determine, honestly, dictate what your doctor tells you can do, what you go buy when you go to the grocery store. I mean, that's the Republican plan. So we have stood up against it. Senate Democrats, we had legislation that we introduced supporting workers, making it up. So we had a constitutional amendment that did not go anywhere, making sure that you could unionize, that you can have collective bargaining, things that would actually help our working Kansas have a livable wage and make sure that they get home safely at the end of the day. We worked on child care policies to make sure that you could get a child care tax credit that would help working families. We know that it's more expensive to go to the grocery store and all of those things. You know, a lot of people can't work outside the home because they don't have access to high quality early child care. So we were working at policies like that. While on the other side of the aisle, Republicans were looking at this divisive thing, targeting our immigrants, targeting our social safety net programs. And it was, we went, all of the campaign conferences last November were about property tax. And we did pass a bill on property taxes that would probably save everyone in this room about $50. I don't know about you, $50 is not going to help with my day-to-day savings. So it was empty promises, and then they go after those pledged issues. So it was a very frustrating and discouraging session, but I also have hope, and it's because of people like you who are here and having conversations. Because I do think in 2020, we're going to win at the ballot box, we're going to break the supermajority in the House, and we're going to retain the governor's office, and we're going to pass policies that actually help working Kansans. But it's going to cause conversations. So the fact that you're here, that's the first step. And Matt talked about Project 2025, and me as the one who looked at that, and I knew it was the playbook. And I tried to highlight this to people as they're like, why are you talking about this? Because you don't spend money on a playbook if you're not going to use it. And so we saw that. as much as I want to go to the people who I know voted for Trump and supported this, now that they're hurting, that their friends and family lost their jobs, whether they were for the government or they were with the meteorologist. She was just flabbergasted that her friends lost their jobs. So instead of calling her and saying, I told you so, we have to have conversations. I know you're hurting. And then we can pivot and talk about the Democratic policy and how we're actually trying to help families put more money in their hands to help make sure that they have a good job, that they're safe, and pass things that actually support people in our kitchen table issues and not these divisive culture wars that Republicans continue to bring. So I look forward to your questions. Thank you for having us, and thank you for being engaged. Don't get discouraged because we are in America, and I think we are going to win.
Our next representative on the panel is Representative Brandon Woodard. Representative Woodard serves as House Minority Leader and represents Districts 108, parts of Lennox, Lakewood, and Overland. The 43 public service work for education and healthcare access. In the legislature, Woodard is championing fully funded public schools, expanding Medicaid, and pushing for medical marijuana legalization. He served as a budget leader on higher education and a strong advocate for responsible government and inclusive policy. He's also known for working across the aisle to get things done and for being a fierce advocate for Kansas who historically has left out the conversation. Mr. Brandon Woodard, thank you so much.
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. Unlike the other side, who is governing from their mansions in Florida or their house in Virginia, I would echo a lot of what Senate Leader, it's actually my senator as well, has already said, but now the legislative session has come to a close. We're making it a priority to come to our communities throughout the state. We may not personally represent this part of the state. We know that we can go out there and hear from Kansans directly, and hear what issues are completely at front of mind and top of mind for you all. And even though we're not in Washington, we have access to those elected representatives, and we will make sure that we can say, in Garden City, we were in Hayes, we were in Wichita, and we heard directly from Kansas that this is why you are wrong and your voting record is wrong. So we want to hold them accountable. This past session was difficult. We saw firsthand what happens when we lose ground in elections. The Republican supermajority wasted no time pushing through dangerous and deeply concerning legislation, including removing the 3-day grace period for your mail ballots and for advancing anti-choice bills that establish things like fetal personhood. This after Kansans, even here in Lyon County, spoke loudly and clearly that they don't want politicians interfering in their private business. And while families across the state are struggling with the rising cost of living, Republicans focused their energy this session on not helping Kansans, but on trying to instead sell our Kansas Supreme Court to the highest bidder. I was proud to work alongside my colleagues both in the House and Senate to introduce legislation that would actually have done something to help Kansas, like raising the minimum wage. We introduced a bill that would make a livable $15 an hour wage for non-tip workers and increasing the tipped minimum wage to $7.50 an hour. But they were blocked before they were even given a chance, shut down in the Republican-led committees. During the 2024 election cycle, Republicans campaigned on property tax and said that it would be the #1 issue that they focused on. But instead, the first bill that they sent to the governor's office was a culture board issue focused on banning puberty blockers and parental rights rather than actually addressing property tax. Instead of passing the tax reform that could actually help working Kansans, they pushed through a flat tax plan that shifts more of the burden onto low and middle income Kansans, all while draining the state's budget. This plan, if it moves fully into effect, would cost $1.2 billion, which, if you'll remember, cost us more state tax revenue than the Brownback tax failed to pass. So we've seen that sort of reckless tax plan before, and we've seen the devastating consequences. Shortened school days, school weeks, and all the other crumbling roads and bridges and things that we do not want to go back. The same pattern repeated itself all session long. and hours has been debating election security, despite our own Republican Secretary of State confirming that our elections are already safe and secure. And in the end, they still voted to eliminate the 3-day voting grace period. And if the chairman of the Senate committee that focused on election issues had his way, they would have banned ballot drops. Luckily, we were able to stop it. As House Democrats, and as we look ahead to 2026, we know what we have to do. And we're continuing to hear from people that are upset about what's happening at the level and the state level. But right now, focus has to be on the local elections in 2025. If you want to stop vote bans, adopt a school board candidate and make sure that they are with you on your issues and that they can get elected to protect your kids' rights to read. If you want to hear initiatives at the city level, adopt a city council candidate and make sure you can get them across the finish line. All of that is the best practice for right now to get us prepared for 2026, which is going to take us knocking every single door. For those of you that can give $1, $100, $1,000, it's going to take everything that we have. We've done this before. We've done this before Donald Trump being in office, and we know that Kansans across the board, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents do not like what's happening at the federal level. So as we look ahead to 2026, we're going to win back seats. We're going to stop the dangerous ballot initiative in August of 2026. That's the one that's selling out our Supreme Court, making it a partisan statewide election. Our rural conservatives, I have no clue what they were thinking when they voted for this. Because imagine a statewide election. Judges are going to come from Johnson County and Wichita, and they're not going to have any representation. So Kansans must once again say no to giving partisan political power. The Supreme Court bench need to be focused on justice and providing Kansas, not their next political election. It's so exciting to see a packed room in here in this lineup and being able to get questions. It's only Tuesday. We're excited. You'll hear more information from us. We're going on to tour. So we have been thinking about this stuff to go. Thank you so much for having us. We're looking forward to your questions. On my side, we're here to hear directly from you.
The final two panelists, Jake Wellman, which is actually Labor Federation. Thank you so much for being here. I don't have a long snazzy introduction for you. I know you'll do a better job than I can anyway, but I just want to say, the history of labor runs deep in Kansas. It runs deep in every corner. I'm glad I have a weekend. I'm glad I have a wage that can support my family. I have labor.
Hey all, my name is Jake. I'm with the Wichita Hutchinson Labor Federation. I'm personally a Teamster, dues paying, glad to be here. Anyone here work for a living? Those are my people. Thank you for being here. I'm here tonight for what I suspect is the same reason you're here tonight, and that is I'm frustrated with what I see happening in Washington, D.C. I was hoping tonight that I would get a chance to ask my representatives what they're doing to help build a better economy that works for all of us, and not over the top. I wanted to ask them, what are you doing to create opportunities for those of us who actually work for a living? I wanted to ask them, why are you wasting your time scapegoating trans kids and immigrants? The authoritarians and the oligarchs who are attacking your rights to work, are undermining the services that working families depend on, and are hurting our ability to provide for our families. But since tonight, I won't get the chance to ask those questions of them, I want to say I'm glad to be here in a room with you, because I am grateful that you and I will have a chance to have a conversation about what we, and I mean that on this side of the table here, more especially, what we can do to build the power, to create the change, to give working families a fighting chance in the future.
next up is, our C2 Chair, Emily Walters from Pittsburgh, and I know it's about back to college here. Dr. Walters.
Oh my God. So I'm here because I wanted to apologize to you guys. Because it's my job as a, low to mid-level member of the Democratic Party, it is my job to get people elected, to the state level to help these two out, and to get people elected at the national level with a little bit of common sense. And I didn't do it, and that's why we're here. And I'm sorry for that. And I'm gonna keep trying because I don't have it in me to just lay down and give up. But man, it stinks. And every day, you turn on the news, and I did see it. I thought it was like the first thing I look at it, news is, did it happen? If you know, you know, it didn't happen. And then you read what horrible thing is coming down the pike. And I think if this is government by the people, then that's on me. And I should have done something different or should have tried harder. I can't promise you that what we do next time is going to work, but I can promise you that I'm not going to give up. And I don't think any of you are going to give up. I'm not going to speak like all these guys. But it does feel better to be in a room with people who look at what's happening and say, this isn't who we are. This isn't the United States of America. This isn't what, my family moved here to Kansas in 1851. They were free staters from Indiana. They were abolitionists. I'm not giving up Kansas, and I'm not giving up the United States. I got ancestors counting on me to do the right thing, so I'm glad you guys are here too.
And so, the rest of our program, I have ground rules of what we would do if our elected representatives showed up. Since they're not here, I think we can be a little bit more kind with ourselves, a little bit more pissed off with what's happening. I will tell you all, this is a space to share what's going on, what questions you have. We will do our best to answer. We may not be able to get to every question. We may not be able to answer. But it doesn't mean we don't want to hear it. Because we also want to work on the same things that has affected each and every one of you. So we have people around the room. We have Andy over here on the right. Here's Andy. And then we got Jason over here on the left. When you get the microphone, so folks online can hear it, and so we can hear it in the room, a little piece of tape. You gotta get real close. That's the tape. So that when you get the microphone to ask a question or make a statement, please put that microphone up close so everybody can hear you. I don't believe we have a set of questions to start off. We really want to hear from you all, then we can have a conversation for the rest of it. So does anybody want to start or just share what's going on?
Hi, my name is Miranda Colangelo. I'm from Eureka, Kansas. If you don't know where that is, it's about an hour west of here. We are a small town of about 2,500 people. I am a very red community. It's really sad to see what my community has voted in their interest against them. I am running for city council as a Democrat openly. Most of my life volunteering in my community, so I do have a strong rapport with my community. So I do think that'll help me because in my community specifically, my local city council is more concerned about getting live horse racing going than our infrastructure that is crumbling. The reason I bring this up, and I'm glad I see hospitals up here because as a rural community, we have had to use our mill levy and our sales tax to support our hospital. And with the leaked federal budget proposals for 26, we can cut rural health is at the top of that. So not only will that affect many people such as my mother who are disabled, it's also going to affect the local hospitals such as Emporia and Wichita if they are going to be prepared for the influx of patients. So these are my concerns. I am starting to.
I hear two things, so thank you for sharing. I'm going to start with Dr. Walters just to talk a little bit about the healthcare today. If Woodard or Sarah, let's talk about how you guys started involved. Also, I'll just I work for a federally qualified health center in my day job. We are very concerned about this. Certainly need to expand can care Ironically, Speaker can't hear me even more. We do know Senator Moran spoke on the floor of the Senate in defense of rural hospitals. But the only reason he's doing that is they got our Medicaid system, our hospitals are already we're going to be having pregnant mothers driving hours to get to the safe delivery sites. This is a death sentence for many cancers. So thank you for bringing up that issue. And I'll start with Dr.
So in my day job, I'm an anesthesiologist. I work in Missouri. I live in Pittsburgh, Missouri, which expanded Medicaid, and I can't even tell you how much it takes to me to like think that Missouri outdid us in something like that. You know, when I came back to Kansas, I moved away for training and came back. When I was a kid, between me and my cousins, we could maybe scrape together like 2 functional parents between like the seven of us. And so my Aunt Debbie always worked. She did the best job she knew how to do. She took care of us. And she worked at the ammo plant down in Parsons, and she had a job. Anyway, she got lung cancer. She couldn't get care. She died. She couldn't get care. She didn't have insurance because she worked for a place that didn't offer it. And then about 8 years later, my Uncle Dwight, who had started drinking again when she was gone, and but he was a bricklayer. He worked his whole life, and he was a bricklayer. He worked for himself. You can't get health insurance if you work for yourself. And he got lung cancer and he died waiting to get on a facility, which you can do once you get cancer. You get the paperwork through. I was living in LA, and I gotta tell you, the healthcare that people get in places that are wealthy is not the same as what we get here, and it is infuriating. Because as much as I like everybody that I took care of there, everybody that I worked with, they're not better than we are. They weren't better than my Aunt Debbie. They weren't better than my Uncle Dwight, although he was a bit of an all-raiser, to be honest. It's horrible. I see people that come in, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm working in a third world country. You know, I see people that come in with advanced diseases. You know, I see people come in, can't afford the diabetes medicine probably every day. I see, the other thing that works against people is that everybody around here is tough, and they will walk it off. They literally will walk their toes off. And you're like, well, hello, you don't see that in Los Angeles, but you see it here all the time, and it stinks. And it really infuriates me that people are supposed to be representing Kansas are letting this happen to my aunts and uncles and cousins and people I went to school with, people I know, people you guys know, maybe even all of you. It is not fair and it's not right. And I don't have an answer for that. It's not right, and it shouldn't be.
First, thank you for running for office. I know it's scary to go out there on the ledge. So, my story, and I was a Republican. I was a rational, common sense Republican. I ran because my kids' school, they hadn't bought library books for 5 years. The PTA was trying to pay so that kids who had to get there early so that they could get a breakfast, I had to help pay a salary for someone to serve there. I joined some friends and I walked 60 miles from Kansas City to Topeka to raise awareness for school funding under the Brown Bag era. Then I met this wonderful senator at the time, Senator Lori Kelly. She said, I need more common sense people in office who are going to think about issues and how they affect everyday Kansans and vote to help people instead of a paper that you get from leadership telling you how to vote. I was naive enough to think, I can do that, but I also would send emails to my senator at the time, and I would get condescending emails back saying, don't you worry your pretty little head, we've got this. Well, that's the number one thing that you can piss me off, and I will say whatever. So I bought 2 pairs of shoes, knocked over 10,000 doors to run for office. I'm also very empathetic, and I care about issues that we vote on, and I see the faces of the harmful legislation that we're passing. So if you are thinking about running for office, do it. it really is worth it. I mean, there are times when you feel like you're miserable and you're running, but I have this quote that I keep on my phone, and I don't know why we still have to deal with this. There's a little William Faulkner quote from like the 50s. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. And that's what every single one of us in this room are doing. So thank you for running. Donate to her, knock doors for her. And also, we have to build a bench. And I think it's amazing that you're running for city council. I started in the Senate and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing sometimes. But we have to, you said you have a position in your community. And it's going to take those red communities to see someone who cares about that community and wants to have a future in Eureka. And that's how Democrats will win, by being the common sense person, the person who's going to sit down when there's a pothole, when there's a fence post, whatever the issue in your community. That's how Democrats win, because we care about our communities.
Thank you for running. It's something that's putting your name on the ballot for any office. I remember doing it the first time as a committee person and knocking on my neighbor's doors, which was an apartment complex. So I was like, I literally know these people. I see them at the mailbox. I see them at the pool all summer. And yet it's still incredibly hard to ask someone, hey, this is a thing. This is an issue. This is a cause I believe in, and I want you to believe in it too. So thank you for running, and anyone else that's even considering it, even if it's not your time yet. Like I talked about, it's not and go knock doors. And thank you again for running. So my story, I was 27, 26 years old when Donald Trump got elected. And I, had spent several campaign cycles as a campaign volunteer, or frankly in college doing it for beer money on the side. And knocking doors for city council and school board. After the 2016 election, I worked in so many campaign cycles that I heard from so many people that I cared about, frustrated, they were out protesting. And they didn't know what else to do after Donald Trump got elected the first time. And it's like, I'm glad that you're not protesting. I hope it makes you feel good. And it's obviously sharing awareness and building community. Do you know who your school board is? Do you know who your city council member is? So a group of us went to brunch in Overland Park and sat down, like, what do we do? And, we were like, okay, let's just go to all the meetings we can. We sent out flyers. We texted everyone we could. We thought literally anyone that would come to a meeting. We met the night before Donald Trump's first inauguration. We sat in a room like this. We sat in 20 chairs. And about 30 minutes before the event, we had to go expand the room because over 200 people walked in. And clearly, we were looking for people who just wanting to channel something of that energy into action. Today, that group is a former state representative who's now on the line at County Board of Public Utilities. It is our ranking member on water, Lindsay Johnson from Oakland Park, who has made it her mission to travel the state to protect water. Myself, who went from saying I would never run for office to now being elected my fourth term and now being the House leader. You will have Representative Reese Shu, who is a legislator from the city area as well. And those of us that said we would never do that. One is now our city council president in Overland Park, Logan Healy. We were just a group of people sitting down wanting to make a difference. And today we're all in elected office. And so your volleyball team on Sundays can turn into every level of elected officials. So thank you for what you're doing. For my story, I was mad. I lived through 9 consecutive cuts to higher education. I was student body vice president at the University of Kansas my senior year. That was the same year that they were considering concealed carry on college campuses, local control. All 6 universities said we don't want those here. I actually led the coalition of our public safety offices, student body governments, our faculty senates, and also the chancellor of KU and the presidents in unanimously opposing this and saying we don't want this. And unfortunately, the legislature not only passed that, they also cut state funding where tuition went up over 8.5% that year. And so after being mad enough about it, enough of my friends said, we're so sick and tired of listening to you complain about this, go do something about it. So, the board, and while we're both from Johnson County, I just want to remind you, when I got started in this, Johnson County, out of the 25 seats in the House that at 2007. We only had 2 Democrats and 23 Republicans. This last term, we had 16 Democrats and 11 Republicans. We lost some ground this last cycle, so there's 14 of us now. But it takes that cycle after cycle investment. You in this part of the state, people obviously we get further west, it's a little tougher for them. But it takes that cycle. I told everyone, and Dinah's gonna laugh because they sound like a broken record. Politics is a 10-year long sport. We're just measuring 2 years at a time. So every work that we put in, you being here, we talk to your friends and neighbors, is going to build out the next decade of political power here.
I do want to just quickly give an acknowledgement on because those are the words that Jason appreciate. Show of hands, how many of you here are your precinct captain in your own area? The precinct captains are the folks on boots on the ground. They're the ones organizing, knocking doors, building relationships. If you don't know what that is in your community, look it up. There's not please consider being a precinct captain. That's how the work gets done. That's how we get more good Democrats. So thank you for all of you doing that. See, we have a question over here.
Hi, my name is I will Kansas and I am out of Democrat. First and foremost, I am a registered nurse and I work in long-term care in this industry. I'm 15 years old. And this is the very first time in my career that I am serious about I am just can't understand why we are not getting the messaging across enough to the other side to make them understand that Project 2025 is real, that the things that the Republicans are doing are real, and that they need to wait for them. I have gone so far, posting little things in public bathrooms and things. You guys, wake up. One of the things that I'm asking you is why are we not investing now?
Chair, we asked, talk briefly to the question about strategy, but then Jake, I'd love you to talk about a little bit about messaging.
Thank you for that question. I know how hard it is to get the message out. One thing I did say when I introduced myself was that before I did anything else, May 17th will be my anniversary in politics. It is my 3-year anniversary. As I stand here today, I have not yet been in politics 3 years. The first thing I ever ran for was Secretary of State. I was the PTO mom, I was the Parent Booster Club mom, and I was the quarterback president of a football mom. That's what we do in my family. Cheerleader with my son's played. But I looked around when my youngest son went to college, became a freshman, as soon as he graduated, I said, it is my responsibility. I'm saying this to all of you, it is our responsibility. It is not someone else's job, it is our job to take care of our community, our state, and our country. So I ran. It was an open seat. Now, I do not recommend it. I got it in May 17th for a November election. Please don't do that for a statewide election. Me and my van traveled the state. I'm going to say to you about strategy. And I'm going to say something people aren't going to like to hear, but I'm your state chair and I've been the chair for now over 2 years. It takes money to put up a billboard. And we are fundraising all the time. I know y'all have been hearing it from me, but let me be very, very clear. The Cobra, Americans for Prosperity, are based out of Wichita, Kansas. Our average donations are about $7.50 on the average. We're fighting back the best we can. So what I'm going to say to you is that people in this room are the absolute best billboard. Billboards work. It's a frequency medium. My background is also media, marketing, and radio. I understand that radio is a frequency medium, so are billboards. More people ride by, but that messaging gets there. They're not free. You know what is free? A conversation between me and Jay saying, I see you hurting, brother. My family is hurting too. I'm voting for the Republican. I'm not going to do that again. My neighbor over here is running for office. That's what I'm voting for. That's free. It may cost you a little bit of courage, but that's how we change. Now, to the point, we are actively raising money right now. We're gonna continue to do that, and we're gonna deploy it in real time, the best we can. So if you get an annoying text or an email, trust me, that is going to the things that we're talking about. But I'm gonna caution this and hand it to Jay. If the issue was just messaging, I'm talking about the national level, the state level, the local level, if the issue was just messaging, we would have changed the message. Like, if there were magic words we could say to your neighbors, I'm not talking to you, because I know how to put in, I know where you stand. If there were magic words that could have said to people, Donald Trump was a convicted felon, who assaults women, who had his running mate offer the preamble to the Project 2025, if there were magic words we could have said to convince people not to vote for him, we would have said them. The best billboard are the people in this room. And if you start now, you help all of us get a head start. I can promise you, we are not going to sit back. We're going to square our shoulders to the wind. And we're going to fight back. I need you. I need you. We need each other to fight back. That's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to get from where we are to where we want to go. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic catchphrase. There's no magic billboard. It's going to take all of us. But I promise you, we are already on that strategy.
Now, I'm not elected. I don't think I'll ever be elected, so I think I can say something slightly different than you might hear, which is that every time I hear a conversation about Medicaid, every time I hear a conversation about potentially cutting Social Security or Medicare, that's my because when we live in a country that pays CEOs 300 times what their lowest paid workers do, when we choose to tax cuts for billionaires over funding vital social service programs, we don't have a funding problem, we have a priorities problem. The United States of America is the richest nation in the history of the world, and we can afford to take care of each other. And yeah, and I'm done pretending we can't. We absolutely can. We need to tax the damn billionaires. And I challenge you all to think about programs like Medicaid, like Medicare, like Social Security in this way. Those are promises that we make to each other, right? Those are promises that says, I got you if you're disabled on the job, if you get hurt. Those are promises to say, you know what, when you get older and you retire, I want you to live with dignity, and I hope that you want to stay with me. And so that's what these programs are about. Those promises we make to each other, and I think we should fight like hell to protect them and even to expand them, to expand Medicaid so that we can keep our rural hospitals, so that we can keep our communities going forward.
So I know he's got a question. I just want to say, Jake, I want to express what's on our hearts tonight. I also just want to point out when I was on the campaign trail, my wife had one bit of advice for me. Get pissed. Get pissed. Because these things are happening to us. And when I hear Jake talk, these are the kinds of conversations we need to be having with people who say, well, don't turn on me, doesn't really need anything now, and our freedoms and our due process can go out the window. We should be pissed. And we need to knock doors, and we need to walk, and we need to talk to our neighbors, and we need to donate, and we need to vote, and we need to tell our neighbors to vote. But Jake, thank you for channeling that in. Jason's got me ready. Okay, Jason, go ahead.
My name is Colleen. My name is Colleen, and I'm just curious about what we're going to do about like coming down. I understand we work from our communities and we work on but like the cities act, where things like that are coming down. How are we making sure that I can vote? You know, I mean, I'm lucky I have a passport, but not everyone does. How do we make sure that we can vote and our neighbors can vote? And how do we help the people around us realize, you know, there's legislation that affects them coming down and that they think they can just go to the poll and vote and then they get there and they can't. How do we work through that kind of thing? And not just the payback, but coming down and affecting people. I feel like there's 3 or 4 things a day that is coming out of Washington that I'm like, oh shit. You know, and I don't want my votes to be going in I don't want to lose my right to vote. I'm from the South. I grew up learning about those things. You know, I'm from South Carolina. So, I learned about, you know, all of the things that happened with the civil rights movement in school. And so, I don't want those things to happen again. And I'm worried about due process. I'm worried about the state act. I'm worried about, you know, people losing their job on a random Tuesday. And so I'm wondering how, you know, I know we go in the community, but how do we keep ourselves safe from what's happening in Washington?
Thank you, Commissioner. Dr. Walters, I'll also just say, if you haven't seen it, there's a clip from Senator Lisa Murkowski, when she was there at the town hall like this. And she goes, I'm scared. This is a Republican senator in Congress saying, I'm scared. I think we have to be able to say that and know that we're all scared. No one is coming to save us. No one's coming to save us. What we have to do is find each other. We have to organize. We have to figure out what works. I don't think there's an easy answer. I'm appreciating that you asked the question, and I want to give it to Dr. Walters to give the best answer that you can.
So I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm gonna give you kind of a boring organizing answer. It's not gonna be like pause lines or anything. But actually, Kelly Atherton in Lyon County a couple of years ago started doing, I don't know what she called it in public, but the way she told me is she called it the lazy voter program. And what we do is at county party levels, you take your voter list, and you get hold of those voters, essentially don't vote very often, and you call them, you go to their house, whatever it takes, and you drag them to the polls. And so what she would have people do is look to see who they knew on the voter rolls. And that's when, once we know for sure what the state act is gonna look like, that's gonna be what we have to do, is especially go through the women that we figure are gonna vote with us, and find them, go to their house, call them on the telephone, email them, and say, are you gonna be able to vote? This is what you're gonna need. And the reason why we haven't started that yet is we don't know for sure what the state act is gonna look like. Scott Schwab has actually been, you know, the Republican Secretary of State. He's been in some ways, I know he hasn't been as terrible as some of the other elected Republicans when it comes to voting. Right.
Scott Schwab beat me for Secretary of State.
I can vote for him, but it could have been worse. So that's what it's going to take. So that's where, like, the precinct captains, for example, I mean, it's boring for work. And I've never met a Kansan, well, I've met more Kansans than not. If you say, hey, there's work to be done, they're like, all right, 4 o'clock, I'm gonna get up and milk the cows, I'm gonna get up in the middle of the day, you know. It's gonna take a lot of work and it's gonna take. So that's the boring organizer answer, is we are gonna have to take those voter rolls and individually make sure that every single one of those women knows how to vote. We can't do it, we can't start, you know, with the rules are gonna be.
Yeah, there's voter to voter, which I think we were talking about. It's, you can look and see if your friends voted. You can also go, you know, their birthday. I do people. I'm like, you haven't voted. So I did that to my children. I think it's, you have to like be on it and talk to your friends. And it's a conversation. I know you're hurting. This is a better solution. Show up, vote. Just annoy me. I have a bracelet that says vote. So every time I'm at the grocery store, every time I'm out, it's a conversation starter. And I go, did you vote? So it's not helping with changing the rules, but we have to get it on everyone. There's so many people who just think forget to vote or they don't show up because they're not working. And we have to show people that they are hurting and the policies that are being inflicted on us are, even if they're not hurting right now, is going to happen. It's a matter of time. And we have to just raise that awareness. I know in Missouri, they were watching, they had a local election, and even the local elections now, like seeing what's happening, seeing what the barriers are, so that we're able to find a way forward there.
Yeah, I would say that one, if you remember nothing else from tonight, put in your phone or write down voter to voter. That allows you to look up your friends, your neighbors, allows you to pre-populate different tasks, to remind them you were check in on them. It shows you in the ballot. Received it. It's such a great tool that allows you to be an organizer in chief, and you can put in anyone you know. It's either party affiliation, so don't freak out. Like, well, you're a Republican. If they can still vote that, vote the right way. But I also just want to touch really quickly on, I think from the last two questions, there was some concern about why are we already putting out messages? We, I think by design, cannot keep up with what Donald Trump's administration is doing day to day. It was just yesterday that we got a new memo or caseload, so looking at things like Medicaid, right? So the state of Kansas, for the fiscal year 2026, $5.8 billion funds the FNAP program. $4 billion of that comes from the federal level. So can you imagine what would happen to our state? And so I think to the authenticity point too, I was like, oh, yeah, real. But I think voters in Kansas just want to see people who are authentic. Right? Man, I was to be able to flip a seat that had been Republican for 40 years without being myself. In fact, I think I scared the House Democrats when they said, I'll run for the seat, but I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to not be authentic and be myself. So when mailers went out saying, Brandon Williams just running to advance the gay agenda, I sent the voters at the door. Damn right. It's called Medicaid expansion, getting rid of the food sales tax, and fully funding our public schools after we failed an entire generation of public schools. That resonates. They didn't care about me being the first openly LGBT. Of course, it's to celebrate milestones, but I was focused on those issues that are important to them. And I think that the most recent reality that we've seen after the 2024 election was, one, it's bad enough to be a down ballot Democrat. Two, Donald Trump does not have voting. Because in the change election, we see 250 state legislative seats flip on average. Only 50 seats flipped. And 6 of those were here in Kansas. So we're going to right the ship. We're going to have the individuals swing back. There's a reason that Kansas has elected more Democratic governors than Republicans in the last 80 years. Because when Kansans see harm to their community, when they see things that are going wrong, they fix it. And that's what 2026 is.
Point about voter to voter. It's a text message program where you text your friends. You text your friends to remind them to vote. You text them, hey, how you doing right now? There's a study that's behind it. The study is that what changes people's politics more than anything else, and it's not a lot, it's like 30%, is personal connections with somebody. That's what we have to do. It's not an sexy answer, it's not an exciting answer, but it does it more than any other method. Mailers, billboards, television ads, those people tune that stuff out. It's that personal connection. So I would encourage you all, find those people in your life. Voter is a great tool for it, but it's that personal touch in your community where we're going to make change.
Hi, I'm Gloria Hannon. I'm the treasurer of the Lyon County Democrats, and I don't have a question, but I got 3 things to tell you. To the lady that was questioning how to check your voter status, go to Kansas Votes. And we had a representative running several years back that developed the system. And you can go there, update your check to see if you register vote, and change anything that you need to, like moving on ksvotes.org. Next, since I'm money oriented, I'm going to tell you about a Democrat billionaire that you want to check out. His name is Mark Cuban. If you take prescriptions you need to go to Cost Plus Drugs and see what he is offering. I have saved hundreds of dollars a month using his service on mail order prescriptions. And then with the money that you save there, I want you to go to AppBlue and Democrat. Okay, go to AppBlue, Kansas Democrat, or whatever your county is, Kansas, since they need lots of money. And with the money you're saving on your prescriptions, donate $10 a month. And if you're not saving on prescriptions, shut that coffee you're buying every day. There's ways to save $10 a month that will not kill you.
Thank you.
My name is Doug, some of you already know me. I was a combat veteran in Vietnam. I was disillusioned with that war. While I was still in uniform, I protested that war and ended up being unceremoniously relieved of my duties. I did get a normal discharge. Of course, I've been never did anything illegal. Point being that I have been fighting this fight to protect democracy for 55 years. And today it is even more urgent to do so. I'd like to point out that there is a veterans protest being built up for June 6th, which is D-Day anniversary nationwide. And we're trying to get something started here in Emporia. And I'll make myself available afterwards if anybody wants to help out or give me their numbers or whatever. Also, there is a veterans rally going on in Topeka this Saturday at 10 at Belker Park, just south of the VA complex, which a number of us are going to. Anybody wants to join us, we're certainly happy to have you come along. So, that's information.
What time?
10 to noon on Saturday. Belker Park in Topeka. The VA workers are going to be at the center of this one.
Would you like to speak briefly to federal workforce and veteran protections?
Absolutely. First, thank you, brother, for that. I think it's important to show up not only as veterans, but important to show up in that space. I want to center what you said about the VA workers are under attack. Many of whom are veterans. On March 27th, Donald Trump signed an executive order that stripped collective bargaining rights from hundreds of thousands of federal workers across 20 different federal agencies. And he gave this lame excuse about doing that in the name of national security. But that is a direct attack on people who provide these services. And it's done explicitly to degrade the services that working families depend upon to get ahead. And I just want to call that out for a second, because when you attack federal employees' rights to organize, you are attacking veterans, you're attacking healthcare workers, you're attacking the people that sign your social security checks, you're attacking the food safety inspectors who make sure that the food we buy off the shelf. And you're attacking the people who serve our community. So we must absolutely stand up for those workers, because those are not abstract people far away in Washington, D.C. Those are our friends. Those are our neighbors. Those are our family. And I'm here for them. And I know that you are too. And I just want to center that. We have to fight back for those folks. There's an important quote from a book that I read recently that says, "Do not obey in advance when it comes to offering charity." What people will not do is when what they do by design is to test the waters. They're looking for the things that we will say hell no to, because that's the power they take. That's why we have to stand up, and it may be exhausting, but that's gonna be our life for the next, 3 years, whatever, probably beyond, in other facets. We have to stand up and make sure that we say hell no, like we are tonight in every opportunity. So I want to thank you, brother, for raising that issue, and I want to thank you all for doing that here tonight.
I would like to change the subject here a little bit. I think that the Democratic Party has to go out and actively recruit the best candidates that they can find. In Johnson County, there's a lot of people change over, they're moving in and out. They're not as deeply connected to other people as they are in these rural counties, where everybody knows everyone for a long time. Our local congressman for this area,
We can't hear you.
better than what it is.
Just keep talking.
So what I was saying was, I think the Democratic Party has to go out and recruit strong candidates for every election. I grew up in Kansas. I left for a long time. I came back 15 years ago. And I would like to vote for more Democrats. I'm a registered Democrat. But election after election after election, the Democratic Party puts forward a relatively weak slate of candidates. Our local congressman here, Republican, he's a great guy. I sat next to him at church, talked to him all the time. He's well respected, he's well regarded, he's lived his whole life, participated in many things. A relatively unknown person is not going to unseat him. It's going to have to be somebody that can win an election any day, any place, anywhere. Not someone that wanders in off the street and says, I think I'm going to run for office this year. It just doesn't work like that in these rural counties. And so I think the idea of fielding the people that show up and say, I want to run, honestly, I think that's a losing strategy. Bill Self does not rely on whoever wants to show up to play basketball. He goes around the world to recruit the best candidates that he can find. And until we do that, we're going to continue to suffer losses. And I know it's easy to sit here and bash left and right, but let's face it, Jerry Moran is also a nice guy. Many of us in here know him, talk to him. He's always receptive. He's a gentleman. He shows up in my business when I ask him. It's going to be hard to beat somebody like that with a newcomer. It's going to take somebody that is equally as respected. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
But I showed up and I wanted to do the work. And I think that's why we're all here tonight. I think it's my experience is that it's a team sport. We need everybody. If you're willing to show up and do the work, we need you. You may not be the best public speaker, that's okay. You may not be the best fundraiser, that's okay. But we need everybody to show up. I did not make it. I was actually on the ballot. I was on the ballot in August, and I wasn't successful. I can tell you, as somebody who tried, we had a short race. It is challenging to raise money. It is challenging to get volunteers. I would love to have met you all here. This is a team sport. We strong people don't need a strong team, but we do have to support those efforts. So I appreciate the comments, and I want to hear and talk a little bit about what's like recruiting candidates.
So I'm down in Pittsburgh, but down in that all of CD2, which includes Lyon County, and I spend all day trying to recruit candidates. And something that's hard as hell. You guys, everyone here lives out in the country, you know. I got a lot of uncles. Uncle Jim would be a fantastic candidate. I was like, hey, let's run for school board, run for something. And he is scared to put his name on the ballot as a Democrat. He'll lose friends. You know, and that's the reality of it. And I'm hoping that he stops, you know, stands up. But it is hard as hell to recruit rural candidates Because the way that people treat you now, they know you're a Democrat out in the country is not right. And everybody out here lives out in the country, you're in a place rural, you know what I'm talking about. We've had swastikas in on people's barns. They found just for putting a Harris sign in their yard. Like, sometimes you take whoever is brave enough to put their name on the ballot. But I promise you that we are people are known, but sometimes they feel like they've got the most to lose. So, you're from here. You ever thought about it?
How long is gerrymander be out of the district? You go about a mile out.
Well, you're in that district somewhere. I'm not even kidding. You know, when people are gonna win from the country, they're gonna look like people from the, you're like, oh, they don't want to elect somebody like you, the hell do you think? You know, I mean, we want to elect people who are like us. I hear it. I mean, everybody up here hears it all the time. Oh, I can't run like this. I'm talking to this guy right now. He's gonna run. He's a West Point guy. He's like, great. Lives out in the country, doesn't give a damn what people think. He was like, well, back in the 60s, when I was first in the army, we raised a lot of hell, and I don't know, I was able to get arrested all the time. Get in trouble, no, but we drank a lot. Oh, yeah, this is gonna hate that. You think your barrier is? I promise you, it's not that bad. I mean, look at who's the freaking president right now. Anybody?
Okay, you got the state chair's attention. Jerry Moran is a nice guy. I was on the state slate with him in 2022. Where is Jerry Moran right now? Being nice is not what you are electing. You're electing someone who's going to represent you. And a nice guy can sit here and listen to his constituents. This is the problem, folks. And I love you brought it up. I am one of 3 Black people in this room. Okay? And that's okay. I traveled all over Kansas. Very often I'd be in places where I was the only Black person. But it didn't matter. I was a Kansan and an American. I knew it was my responsibility to run. Nice guy. But Washington, D.C. isn't. And that's the problem. Washington, D.C. is full of people who are Washington, D.C. people. Kansas is full of nice people. So guess what, Kansas? Nice, get out and run for office. Get out and run for office. If you don't think we spend every waking day on the phone begging people to run, let me disavow you of it. We get up every day, I get up every day and think about who the next person is that's going to step up and run. This young woman here is running. Right here, why don't we run? Don't answer, I'll put you on the spot. The point is, it's not about being nice, it's about being willing to go represent your neighbor. You are not too young, and you are not too old to run. Spare me the nice guy. Spare me the nice guy. It reminded Martin Luther King his letter from Birmingham jail. You know who he was writing it to? Pastors. Nice guys who are sitting back letting bad things happen. Give me somebody good tonight. Give me Jake Lowen. Jake, you need to run for office. I love you. I'm not mad at you, but my goodness, I do nothing every day to try to figure out how to raise enough money, recruit enough Democrats, and put them in training and win elections. If anybody thinks we aren't trying, you're not paying attention. Look at the Democrats sitting up here right now facing you, where the nice guys refuse to show up.
I think there's time to use 2 more questions, and then we'll have to answer, but we're still respectful of this time to have.
Gina, just so you know, my whole drive down here, I was calling school board candidates.
I already
everybody. My name's Deborah Oliver, and I grew up in southeast Kansas and spent my adult life in northeast Kansas. And I am disappointed because I did drive down here to Korea because I wanted to confront these guys. I had my speech ready to go, and I'll tell you what I was going to say. I can hardly talk to you without crying. Who the hell are you? I do not even recognize people in Washington that are call themselves Kansans. We have absolutely sold our soul to participate in a game of whack-a-mole with somebody that is a mob boss.
Reach.
No. Stand up. And it's just, it infuriates me. It infuriates me. But I'll tell you anything, what really I wanted to talk about, and that is politics in general. I remember when Trump ran for office the first time around. Let me refresh your memory. Do you remember the first debate? How insulted the Republicans were to have him on the diocese with them? Remember that? Yeah. There wasn't a single Republican that had a good thing to say about Donald Trump. Thought he was the worst, the most egocentric human being that ever walked the face of the earth. And he walked dirty. You know, he attacked Bruce's wife. He went after. You get the picture. And all of a sudden, we decide to vote for this man. We did that now. Not cities. We, the people, did that. And you know why? I'm talking we in general. But you know why a lot of Kansans voted for him the first time? For the same reason they voted for him the second time. You know why? He had an R beside his name, and only for that reason. That is what is wrong with Kansas. We have allowed ourselves to take such pride in the fact that we were a Republican state. You know, we had Eisenhower and Butterfield and people like that represented us. And I love the fact that most all of the people that I grew up with were Republican people. And of course, they always make fun of me of bleeding heart liberal and treat everybody like they were a voodoo puppy dog. But you know, value-wise, there wasn't a whole lot of difference between any of them and me. There's a huge amount of difference between them and me now. Because I could be on Facebook with people I grew up in high school. I don't recognize them anymore. I don't even recognize them. Where is your value system for crying out loud? Because they got people like Moran, nice guys, that are being reelected over and over again because they showed up at somebody's hardware store and had a cup of coffee. You know? But you guys are right. Gina's right. Where are these people tonight? Where are these people tonight? And when it comes to things like what is happening in politics, you know, it's not just the wealthy hoarding all this money and not paying enough taxes. Do you have any idea how many people could be helped with the amount of money that goes through one election cycle? I'm sorry, because I know people that run for office don't want to hear me say that. But, God, if you could give that kind of money to buy an office for someone, then by golly, you can afford to be spending that kind of money to help your neighbor here and try.
Here, and I think we're going to run up against our time.
I'm Stacy Welsh, this is the Marshall. This is for Mr. Woodard. Okay. I heard you say you downplayed. Let me tell you, I'm old enough to remember it changed things in the sixties and seventies. And we're talking about. And I know you say reach out. People on the right side, how you reaching out to? Yeah. Well, since I was 18 years old, and I'm 52 now. And I, year after year after year, we're gonna reach across that aisle. We're gonna reach across that aisle. And we have gone right. If the Democrats don't stand up, then so you can vote all you want, because I'm told you can't get like, you can vote all you want, if you don't get people in there that are willing to sit. Go against the grain and fight the Republicans. We are, that's why we are heading to a dictatorship. Because nobody's pissed off enough in the different. Somebody who agrees what's going on in El Salvador, who is taking our child care away, who is my son is a Chesney, and they're taking his funding away. He is in college right now, and we have. And now he's getting discriminated yet against his job and everything. And we got here because the Democrats aren't willing to stand. The Democrats, we have elected. Don't stand up and say, screw you, we're not doing that.
First, thanks for your passion. I wasn't downplaying protests. Post 2016 with a number of young people, I'm only able to be in this office as an out gay man because of the decades of people who fought for the right. Out from the rooftops, now here they are, and I want them to then organize and make sure that we're defeating Moms for Liberty candidates that want to get rid of every single book that is quote unquote DEI, which is literally just talking about everyday life and history in this country. And I think too, the other part of that is while we continue to see election after election cycle one, I pulled a seat that was Republican for 40 years. I didn't do that because of just the Democratic. I raised the most money in the history of the state for recycling. And I paid that $121,000 went to that versus the community shelter just down the road for cold weather for the unhoused folks in my district. So I agree with so much of what has been said here. And we are fighting like hell every single day of that. Minority. We were able to defeat a trans healthcare ban for 4 years. We were able to, we still need it now. When they picked up seats, they have the numbers to override the government veto. And yet they can't even cobble together 63 votes, a majority, to pass the voucher plan. And so we are working every single day. We have to work much harder than them, but we are also a lot smarter than them. Will you, as every single day, when it is maybe reaching across the aisle, it is because, and he does deserve a shout. Representative Mark Schreiber here in Oregon. He does what's right, even when he knows that he's being threatened by the other side, they are coming after him. And even this cycle, we lost 3 seats, so we had 1 seat, they would put him in the row with the Democrats. And yet he continues to do what's right. Would I like that to be a Democratic seat? Hell yeah. But where we're at, I think that we have 2 things. One, the campaign cycle. Candidate recruitment was mentioned here as the House Democratic leader. Every single one of the members of the House in 2026. We are just over 18 months away from the next election. And we're going to go across the state. Imagine talking to one of your friends or neighbors and saying, you want to do something that's so scary, isolating, and one of the toughest things you'll ever do in your life. I want you to put your name on a ballot. I did that in 2020 to my friend Whitney, who did it. He ran for the Senate, and Stacey Nell, who lives in my district, is now the executive director of the African American Affairs Commission in Kansas. And I said, we need you to run, not because I think you can win this district, but because people in your district deserve to have a choice. You're going to help turn out votes, not only for our House races that we know that we can win, and that was my toughest re-election year ever. But that's the kind of organizing we have to do across the state. I look at Crawford County Democrats, loud as hell, at Washington days, they do what's right. Right? That is the work we have to do. And when we are at a moment like this, Donald Trump is destroying this country and doing everything he can to not only cause damage that many people have said, oh, maybe we can repair this. This damage is irreparable in many of the cases. And so we have to, your point, he's shouting to the rooftops about this, trying to keep up the news cycle while maintaining our peace and limiting some of the news intake, but channeling that energy into action. So thank you so much for your passion.
I voted for Dawn Hill, like we tried to do that for reelection. He was a.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And John is in the building. Yeah, I would say we are fighting like hell every day, and we bring those, we make it uncomfortable for our colleagues. I think when I was saying reach across the aisle, I think there are Republicans who don't like where the Republican Party is going, and I think we do have a way to talk to them because they're cutting the special ed funding. They're taking away our rights. They're taking, and I think we can get and have some conversations with them. There are others that there is no way, and don't even spend your time. I mean, I have my list, and I hear you. And as a Republican, the Republican Party loves me, and I am 100% at home with my Democrats now. The brown bag tax plan, when we voted to reverse that, I had the Senate president come and she sat me down and she said, I will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars if you don't vote for me. And I said, well, bring it, honey. And then I was elected with a larger margin. So we had to ask, I think there are some who they need a backbone, but no, there are some of those crazy people. You're not going to win them, but there are people who are hurting, and I think we can have conversations and bring them to our side because the party did leave them.
We have 2 final questions that we can keep short and we'll close. I do want to just make a brief comment. There are more registered Republicans and registered unaffiliated independent voters in Kansas than there are Democrats. We're in 3rd place. So when you use voter to voter, or when you talk to your neighbors, there's a lot of people who don't vote because they don't know. We can reach them too. So I appreciate the enthusiasm. I think you're right. I live in Wyandotte County, which is a majority community. There's a bunch of people that are scared when a young black kid got shot back on Christmas Eve. They said, we're not going to go canvass this. There's fear. I get it. But there's our neighbors. We also just stay home because I don't think it's going to change it. Let's talk to them too. I appreciate the question.
Hello, my name is Kaylee. I'm 25. In 2023, I was blessed with my first daughter, who is now 18 months old. And in May, I will be having my second child, my son. What I wanted to say is that the minimum wage that you were trying to pass through, I make more than that now. And in my area, I have outpaced childcare costs to need to stay home. So, it's not much of a question. I just wanted to share the.
What we're talking about is And that affects everyone in our community. I remember when I was on my campaign, I was talking to a Republican state senator, and he goes, why should we raise the minimum wage? Nobody makes that chance. Our community doesn't hear stories. We don't care. We don't have empathy. We don't have our values. So I appreciate you sharing. Last question, comment, we'll have a closing.
My name is David from the Social Republic of Lawrence. I'm a registered Republican, and my wife's a Republican, and we're really not. We learned years ago that we wanted to vote in primary. Something really bad. We had to vote in the Republican primary. So we do, but we are. I haven't heard the word online once. By the way, Chairman, maybe Moran is in Salina. I've heard about online. And my granddaughter who lives in Missouri tells me the story about when Missouri was talking about passing a law to eliminate abortion. They started a online petition. They got so many people to sign the petition that Missouri Republicans either voted for 10 or they lost. They backed off that 10. Why don't I do online? Why don't we do things on Instagram, Facebook, you guys know dirt. We could use some dirt. We don't know what these people are saying in the state. We don't know what's happening. Better. The news. Many of them. I'm a registered.
I'll put a plug in very non-partisan organization of Wildlands. What people looking for, because they are doing a wonderful job online exposing, Wildlight is exposing every actual comment made by Republicans.
Well, it's going to surprise some of you in this room, I'm married to a Republican. I am. I'm the Democratic chair and I'm married to a Republican. He's from the western part of Nebraska. Both sides of the family farmsteaded, and he was a Republican because they were Republican. I will tell you, he votes to the left. I do want to acknowledge some people in the room before you're ready to close. Not only as do we have staff members here across the back of the room, Jessica here, Annie, Nicole, Jason is actually not one of our staff members, but he's a county clerk chair. Andy is our executive director. And to your point, online, we are on Blue Sky, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube. Tonight, we are being broadcast live on Facebook and YouTube. I'd like to introduce you to our media coordinator, we are doing it. I can tell you his face wrong when you see that because we are tweeting all the time, we are on Facebook all the time. It's going to be layers. It's going to be layers. Everything you've heard tonight, I'm going to let Andy close, but I want to say this to you. There's a documentary called The Time for Burning. Daughter was a civil rights activist in the Vietnam vet. Born when my father was flying a mission. That's how he knows how long he's been out of being in country. Is every year on my birthday. This year I'm going to be 55. It's not a single bullet. And I do want to say this. These two people right here are the best fighters I've ever met. There are things that happen every single day in the legislature that make their hair curl. They go in there in the super minority and fight it out. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And the things that, here's that story, it's the things that you don't know. The worst things are the things they're protecting. But there's not a silver bullet. I wish Moran was here. I wish Marshall was here. I wish Derek Schmidt were here because then they could answer. But what I can tell you, it's going to take messaging. It's going to take money. It's going to take candidates. It's going to take screaming from the rooftops. It's going to take online. It's all of it. There's no single silver bullet. And if any of you think that those of us up here can fix it for you, or even those guys in DC who refuse to come talk to you, it is us. If I can leave you with one message, Matt already said it, no one's coming to save us. I'm going to end with this. We got bad news and good news for you. The bad news is no one's coming to save us. The good news is we get to save ourselves. And with that, are we handing it to Andy or? Oh, sorry. I'll hand it to Matt.
If I just add one comment, this is something I learned from the campaign, so this is the work I've been doing in communities. We have a deficit of trust. And the research I've done, the work I've done, trust is built by three things. Number one is showing up. You all are here tonight. Thank you. Number two is sharing what you know. We're sharing stories, we're sharing voter guides, we're sharing ideas, we're sharing billboards and values. We're sharing what you know for you. Keep doing that, not just. And the third is we get shit done. We have elections this fall in every municipality. Get people who care elected. Angela?
I mostly just wanted to say thank you and to thank the panel and thank our state level governance for being here today to do this town hall for the second congressional district. Here in Emporia, we are kind of the geographic center of CD2. My name is Andrea Garantano. I'm the Lyon County Democratic Chair. There are a lot of 66801 zip codes in this room. I was at the door when you all came in. So if you are interested in being active and being involved and making a difference and knocking doors, I will be here until everybody leaves. So please come say hello. Thank you so much to Andy for all of the work that you did. Anyway, I really, really appreciate this. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to tell how awesome Lyon County and Emporia is for just a couple of shades. I see a lot of my PCPs here. I have seen at least 2 of our school board members here tonight. I have seen a candidate who ran for Kansas Senate here tonight. And I will say, here's what's amazing about Emporia is that we represent, in Lyon County in general, we represent everything that you will find in Kansas. Everything about Kansas is here. We are a union town. We are a labor town. We are a university town. Okay? We are labor and we are higher ed. And friends, we are purple and getting more. And we need to fight and we need to activate and get together. And I want everyone here in state governance to know how frustrated this contingent of people here likely is about what went down to our university. I want all of them. And I want to just make closing comments here, but I can't let it go. Thank you, David. We love our university. It is so important to us. It impacts all of us here in a positive and meaningful way. It impacts our community, impacts our greater county. It impacts our state in a positive way. We are not happy about what happened here. It does not represent the values of this community. It does not represent the values of our greater campus community. Victoria State is history of this state. It is the first Kansas normal college in the state. It is a history of education. It is a teacher's college. It is ingrained in our town. So I want to share that with you. I want to drive how important it is.
Yeah.
And we're still under it. Absolutely. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. And with that, who gets the microphone next? That time. Thank you, everyone.
I don't have anything else to add except to say thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. And thank you all.